Hey, good evening, everyone. Dr. Stephanie here. I'm a creative chiropractor, a master educator, a health and wellness coach, and I am a student in self mastery. I am learning from the great brother Hatim. Brother Hatim is going to be our speaker for this evening's discussion on Men's Health Month because June is Men's Health Month. So I'm so excited. Amongst other things, exactly. So I'm excited. I hope that you are too. And without further ado, we're gonna let Brother Hatim go ahead and do what he do.
I can hear you. Yes.
Yes, we can.
All right, cool. Check one, check two. All right. So it might be coming through double because the way the mics is set, it's crazy. But anyway,
It's
all right,
crazy.
family. It's cool. All right, but I just want to make sure people can hear me because it'd be horrible to be the person that's doing the show and nobody can hear me. So I'm talking the whole time and it's silent. So anybody out there that's having problems hearing or whatever, Dr. Jackson, if you could go to Giami Journey on Facebook or whatever, make sure that they can hear us. Oh, and I got another option where I can check real quick
Okay.
when I think about it, and because I want to make sure that they can hear. Because brothers, we're gonna get into it. I want to make sure we have a good conversation tonight. GNJ.media, GNJ.media. It should be streaming straight through. Boom, there you go. Watch now. Check one. Oh, they got no internet. I ain't got no internet. Well, whatever. All right, let's do it. Anyway. All right, so black men. First things first, I want to start with this. You are enough.
Whew.
Listen, because part of the issue and part of some of the stuff that we have to address, we first have to get to the root. One of the first things that I learned on my path is, as a man thinketh, so is he. And
That's a book.
one of the things that we constantly run into as black men, as men, is that you are not enough. You are not enough, right? We're viewed in many cases as economic man, as defender man, but those are just two aspects of who and what we are. You know, some of us are great at being the economic man, and some of us are not that great at it. Some of us are great at being the defensive and the fighting man. Some of us are not. You know what I'm saying? But our whole lives we've been striving to be, better yet, our whole lives we've been told that we were not enough. We couldn't read fast enough, couldn't do math good enough, couldn't run fast enough, couldn't jump high enough, couldn't fight long enough, couldn't fight good enough.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So one of the first things that we have to start dealing with when we start talking about men's health is really getting men to start understanding that where you are right now is enough. Now, whether you want to take it to another level or not, that should be your decision and not a decision of the world. Because one of the first things that you start running into is that people start looking at the definition for manhood and definition for who you are. A lot of these definitions come from external circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
And these external circumstances are designed to make it so that you can never actually reach the mark that they have set for you. Because as long as you are not the ultimate that you can be, you will always need to buy my products.
Oh my goodness.
I don't think they heard me, right?
Right.
So we can go and correct the health. You know what I'm saying? We go and talk about the physical stuff because that's what a lot of people, when we talk about men's health, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about becoming slimmer as men. We're talking about becoming fitter as men. But we're not talking about preparing the mind for the changes that we really want to make in our lives. So once again, I start with brother. You are enough. All right? So let's start it right there. Any questions or comments before I go any farther?
So I have a question, Brother Hatem.
Or comment. Go ahead.
At what age or stage in your life did you realize that you are enough? When did that dawn on you?
The idea or the reality?
Both.
The reality, I'm still working on. The idea, I ran into my late 20s. You know what I'm saying? Because it's how can I put it? Because to talk about it as if I have arrived, right, is not what I'm meaning to do. What I want to do is let people know that this is a constant and never-ending process. Because there's always going to be, because how can I put it? The society we in, this Western society, is like a virus, and it adapts, and it changes. I mean, because I want y'all to just think about the concept of manhood and how much that shit has changed just in, if you are over 40, I want you to think of how different manhood has become from when you was young to where we are right now.
You're right.
Men, when I was younger, men never strove to be pretty. We got men now looking better than women.
The agony.
No, but I mean, so, and I'm not saying that's not, but what I'm saying is that it has changed. So the idea, right? The idea of manhood has been colonized, and we're trying to keep up with an idea that is outside of our culture, which totally makes us unhealthy. So once again, I could take all the vitamins, I could do all the exercises, but if I do not change the mind state, you know what I'm saying? I just will live a long, unhappy life. So regardless of how healthy your body is, if your mind is fucked up, so will your life be.
Absolutely. You said it, right? You said there's a book, As a Man Thinketh,
so is he.
So is he. Right. Absolutely.
Right. No, there's a little, it's a little teeny weeny book. It's a little tiny book.
Right.
But it is what it is. Anything else?
So you said that you came upon, you said
in
that
my late 20s.
In your late 20s, that
right.
It came to you in your late 20s, but that
I'm
it
still
is
working
a
it's a constant piece. Because
It's
many of us want to live life like there's a final solution.
Ooh.
You understand what I'm saying? The only thing guaranteed is death. And how can I put it? And many of us, we had this illusion that all the answers at some point in time in life, all the answers will be laid out, or we will reach that point where we have all the answers. But it's not that. The best we can do is the best that we can, right? Live our life to the best of our ability, right? Once again, grabbing control of the mind and start learning how to use it to define some of the things around us. Because like I said, many of us are living lives that are not even ours. Our lives have been totally defined by external circumstances. Whether those external circumstances is this system that we live in, the idea of white supremacy, the idea of what women tell you a man is supposed to be, the idea of what your friends tell you a man is supposed to be, and even who and what you are have been defined, if you have not taken time to do an internal inventory, have been totally defined by external circumstances. So how can you ever be healthy? because you're always trying to reach and achieve something that other people have set for you.
And so I guess I have a question. I'll just kind of jump in. The idea is that we are enough. But Brother Hatem, of all the things that you just mentioned, it would seem to be totally impossible to maybe reach that, because of all of the things that are like barriers or extraneous factors or whatever that's interfering. It's like planting a seed and it's covered up with weeds and it's constantly, it doesn't have the opportunity to grow. How do you grow in a situation where it seems that the odds are against you?
Now, part of that is one, defining who you are, taking time to do that personal inventory. You understand what I'm saying? Finding out who and what you really are, rather than accepting what you've been told. This is what a lot of us, we accept what we've been told. You know what I'm saying? When in fact, if I was to step back and really find out what it was that I was born for, or in some cases, as some people say, what I chose to be born for, and to live that, right, would bring me to a point where I could really start the stuff that I would do to make myself quote unquote healthy will really start to benefit me. Because many of us are, you know what I'm saying, like I said, we're doing a lot of the right health practices, but because our mind is not right and we're not, how can I put it, and our lives are being guided by others, we're living a long, healthy, terrible, we are actually propelling ourselves deeper into what in some spiritual traditions they will call hell. You living a long, long life without sickness, but because your mind is not right, you are immersed in hell. And if anybody out there who have ever been in a hellish situation, right, want to come and talk about that, please let the people know so some people can identify with it. Because people think when they think of hell, they think of flames and shit like that. No, hell is a whole different thing, it's a whole different concept, right? That fire and brimstone shit is some shit that they told ancient people who might have not had the imagination that we have, right? I can give you a better idea what hell is. As a matter of fact, it's an episode of Twilight Zone, man. I love the Twilight Zone. Twilight Zone. I watched this when I was young. This shit twisted my mind up. But there was this guy. He was a I ain't even gonna say a gangster. He wasn't even a good gangster, but he ended up dying, and he ended up in a place, right, where he when he came through, he was like, "Well, what's going on?" And he had a servant, and he was like, "I got a servant," and this dude provided him whatever he wanted. Right? You want to eat? Cool. Here's your food. You want to sleep? There's a comfortable bed right in there. This is a penthouse. This is the type of house you always wanted to live in. You know what I'm saying? He would make reservations for him to go wherever he wanted. And everywhere this dude went, he would win. If he went to go gamble, he would win. If he betted on a game, he would win. He had the best seats that he ever that were available. He would have it. Anything he wanted, any woman that he wanted, everything was given to him. And all throughout the show, you start seeing this dude. So as time went on, he started like, damn, I at least want to lose every now and then, or I'm tired of the good life. So he looked at the butler and he told the butler, he said, "Hey man, I was just wondering, this is kind of boring. I kind of want to go to the other place." He said, "What you mean other place?" He said, "The other place." Oh, he said, "Sir, what makes you think that this is not the other place?"
Ooh.
So all the time he was getting everything he wanted, guess where he was? You don't know?
Please.
He was in hell.
Wow.
He was winning. He was getting everything he wanted. He was living the lifestyle that he wanted. He got everything that he desired. And after that, he was dissatisfied. So all the time he thought he was in heaven, he was actually in hell. And this is like 1950. This is TV 1950. But you know what I'm saying? The whole idea was, in order to really be healthy, sometimes, well, I ain't gonna say sometime, you gotta think outside the box of what they give you in this society. Because this society, in many cases, what they call healthy is actually mentally ill. You have to accept mental illness and have to be able to operate within mental illness.
Wow.
And in a lot of professions, we got to spread the virus of mental illness because we got to teach people how to deal with within a mental ill situation as if it's healthy. Whether we're talking about schools or we're talking in the hospitals, or I mean, this shit is crazy. And it's like, it's almost like those of you that are comic book people, it's almost like we live in a bizarro world where everything is flipped upside down and backwards. And it's like, I'm like, damn. Right. So then we talk about men's health. Like, for example, we talk about, I call June a slutty. I call June the slutty month.
Oh, wait a minute. Why?
Because June got too many loyalties, and a lot of them kind of cross. Is it Black Man's Health Month or Help Man's Health Month?
It's to be Men's Health Month.
It's Men's Health Month. It's also LGBTQ month. It's also the month with Juneteenth. I mean, it's like, come on, man. June. They done made
Father's
June
Day.
Right. Come on now. We got all this. We got a lot of male-centric stuff, and it's kind of all like kind of confused and crazy and shit. It's a slutty month. I'm sorry. He or she, whatever June is not right. He or she is very loose.
Well, so would you say, Brother Hatem, the first step of men's health is mentality?
Oh, hell
thought,
yeah. Yes.
thinking.
Yes.
And so what are some practices then that can be put in place for men to be healthier mentally? And then another question is, how does that, I know it seems like a lot of questions, but how does men's mental health impact them and his family?
Oh God. All right. I mean, now let's take that. If a man is not mentally healthy, how can he produce or even add to a healthy family? If one of the partners is mentally unhealthy, how are you going to create something healthy from that? Right? Because in math, we know a negative times a negative. I mean, a negative time, well, actually, according to math, a negative and negative will make a positive. But if you take a negative and a positive and you multiply them, you get a negative. You bring them together. You know what I'm saying? So, if I'm not healthy, how can I produce health? How can I help the mind state of my children if I'm unhealthy? Because especially if I have boys, for example, this whole myth of, do you know where the idea of laziness comes from? Somebody that's out there in on Facebook or whatever you on, let me know if you can hear us. And if you could repeat that, Dr. Jax, because they might not be able to hear me.
So the question is, do you know where the idea or the concept of laziness came from?
Oh, no, I ain't talking about that. Just make sure. I want you to ask them if they can hear. Make sure they can hear us. Good. But it's cool. But anyway, the idea of laziness, where did it come from? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I know what I think and what I've heard in terms of, Blacks being colonized. And
yeah, exactly. Okay. I mean, it's a Western concept, right? Okay. It's a sin to be lazy, right? Of course, that lines up with colonization and taking over other people's stuff and slavery. You know what I'm saying? Because you always got to keep the whole society busy, right? So it's almost wrong for you to have a moment to yourself, right?
Mm.
Even and it has become so ingrained that some of us feel guilty for not having nothing to do. We become anxious. I found myself doing this shit. I'll turn around and I'll put on a YouTube video that will teach me how to do something because I feel guilty because I ain't got shit to do. Or I will have other people in my life who feel that because they see me not doing nothing, they feel they need to put something in my life.
Yes.
How many of y'all got people like that in your life? If you got people like that in your life, raise your hand. Oh, you don't seem busy enough. I think I need to put something
Right.
on you.
Right. Let me add to you. Let me
Yeah,
add to
yeah,
your mental load. Let me
right.
make you stressed.
I just need y'all to know, leave me alone. I don't need your help, right?
Right.
Because, like, for example, sometimes taking a moment for yourself should not be seen as a detriment, right? Because one of the things we got to learn, and this is gonna sound crazy, we have to learn how to be selfish first, and not selfish in a Western standpoint. We have to learn how to pour into ourselves. How can I help my family? How can I help my community? How can I help other people if I am empty? In this society, we talk about giving it all and pouring it all out. But how can you help people if you're empty? You have to take time to allow yourself to refill. You have to take time to allow yourself, even in the natural cycle. This is why we have sleep, right? The body needs to refill itself, right? To get rest so that it can move on. But for some reason, we don't think that we need to do that. We think that the sleep is enough for us. Sometimes during the day, we have to pull back, right? Because the mental aspect of what people don't even realize how much energy thinking and fretting and doing some of the stuff mentally we do. We don't even realize how much energy that shit takes.
That is very taxing. It
Oh
is
man.
very taxing.
If you have ever had a major issue that weighed on you, not
Whew.
in not made not something that you had to do with your hands, but something that just was pulling on you in the back of your mind. Those of you out there that have had that before, right? Whether you was worried about something or worried about a bill or worried about a situation that you was in, that drains you. And all I'm saying is, if we want to talk with men about getting right, first we got to start getting our minds right, right? Then we can move into the other stuff because I got some other stuff for us, but uh, I don't know if the doctor got something. Oh, it's two doctors. I'm standing in between two doctors. What's up, ladies? How y'all doing?
Right. Hey, Sarah, Dr. Carisay. We can't hear you.
That might have been a good thing because I just had a whole crash over here.
Oh no. How are you?
Oh, I am doing well. How are you all this evening?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good, good. Sounds like a good conversation.
Yeah, we trying to hit on that man's health. You know, Dr. Jackson throw me out there and be like, "You got to lead this one." I'm like, "Okay, okay."
Yeah, and
What?
it's right on time because next week is actually designated as men's Mental Health Week. I mean, even though the entire month of June is Men's Health. Well, what did I say? I think I said I made a mistake and said men's mental health. That's in November. Men's mental health month is in November. The entire month of June is men's health month.
Mm.
But Monday, yeah, it starts tomorrow. So the Monday preceding Father's Day, so tomorrow up until Father's Day is actually Men's Week, Men's Health Week. So this is right on time, Brother Hatim, dropping knowledge for the brothers.
All right,
For the
so part two. You ready? All right, so
Yes.
now black men, because I have to talk specifically to black men. Now, the stuff that I'm talking can be used by all, but I have to specifically talk to my group. Black men. All right, first off, you enough, bro. You enough. All right. Now, from realizing where you are right now, being enough. Now, if you want to move forward, if you want to move up, if you want to move in whatever direction you're talking about moving in, it's something that you have to decide after you take some time to really evaluate who and what you are. Now, one of the things I stress all the time is getting in tune with yourself culturally, right? Because a lot of the tools that are out here that we're trying to use to improve ourselves are not tools that come from our culture, which makes it extremely hard for it to be successful in our lives. This is why a lot of motivational speaking shit don't work for us, because many of us have not taken the time to evaluate who we are and looked at our situation, because somebody just saying get up and work. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
I mean, just think about this. You know what I'm saying? You're sleeping too much, right? Hold
right.
on. From a people who are already constantly under stress, that shit is not good for us. Coming from a people who have worked from dawn, from the term can't see to can't see has never been applied to any other group. A whole group of motherfuckers who can't work from can't see to can't see. How do you tell them that? Right? We come from people who have worked for others' benefits. We have been, in many cases, selfless, have been forced to be selfless as a group to build up a whole economy. And then when we say, hey, there's something, what are you talking about? And we got to be clear about this shit, right? So the whole concept of can't working from can't see to can't see, we already got that. So we don't need nobody screaming that shit at us and telling us that's why we're not successful, rather than not recognizing some of the systematic shit that's in our way. This is why we have to approach things from a cultural standpoint so that we can be successful with it and start plugging into principles and ideas that lead us back to who we are and give us a stronger foundation of who we are. Right. And when I say culture, I mean going back to our roots, going back to the continent, going back to Africa, and using the very best of those traditions to uplift us and to utilize in the current day so that we become successful. Now, saying all that, now I want to get into the next step. So, one of the things I do in the system and in my coaching process, I use African proverbs. One of the first and the best African proverbs that I use, it ain't the first, I take that back. One of my favorite is a proverb from a book called The African Openings to the Tree of Life. One of my all-time favorite books. I ran into this at Ohio State in 1988.
Yay!
And I'm so mad because they had the only hardback that I have ever seen. And I was just trying to be honest to make sure that it stayed in there. And I took the hardback back, and I should have been a bastard and just kept it.
Oh, no, don't call yourself that.
I'm just saying, I should have kept the book, because the very next time I came, guess what? Somebody else kept it.
Somebody else was not being.
As my brother Greg Carr would say, somebody liberated the book. That's what they called it, liberate. I should have liberated the book. But anyway, right. In there, a proverb that has been really good for me in my later life it says the best life is achieved by engagement with systematic process. The best life is built on systematic use of life-giving principles. That's all one proverb. The best life is achieved by an engagement with systematic processes. Brothers, what is the systematic process that you are engaging in your life? Is it a system that you set up? Is it a system that your family, that benefits your family? Is it a system that benefits your tribe? Is it something that comes from you? Or are you living somebody else's system? Do you have a system for your life? The best life is achieved through engagement with a systematic process. And the best life is built on the systematic use of life-giving principles. What life-giving principles are you living by? Can you even identify? Because like I said, I got stuff because we could talk about supplements, we could talk about physical health, we could talk about the diet, we could talk about all that. But if we don't get the mind right, it don't matter. It don't matter. So brothers and sisters out there, but I'm focusing on the black men. What is the systematic process that you have established in your life? You know what I'm saying? We want to talk about health. And if you need an example of what a systematic process is, the sun is very systematic. Our ancestors use nature as models or models of concepts, right? The sun represented something. It not just the object itself, but the process that it went through. The seasons have process. Everything around you has systems that it works. It has a process that is going through. And the question I have to ask all of us, what systems do we have in our life? What systems have we implemented in our lives?
And to jump right in, I think it all goes back again to what you said in terms of our mental in terms of our mental thinking. So if you don't know how to employ a process or a system, if you don't know what a system is, if you don't have those support to hold you up in your system searching or whatever the case may be, how is this possible? And so how do we put these things in place? How do we find the and not to rush you at all, but I'm anxious as well because I know that what you say, as a man thinketh, so
So is
he
he.
is, but as a woman as well,
Right.
how can I help the man?
Now, first off, now check this out. Western society, white supremacy, however you want to look at it, right, is designed to break us down in every aspect and, in a sense, single us out. Like, like for example, white supremacy or the idea of white supremacy is a bully idea. The bully's goal is to isolate you, to get you totally by yourself so that you are up under their thumb. They could hit you anytime they want. They could do whatever they want. They want to isolate you. And in a sense, many of us have played into this because we believe in this rugged individualism that is pushed in this society. We believe in this true competition, man versus man. And let me tell y'all something. I want y'all to think about this. That individual bullshit that they're pushing is the biggest lie that you have ever heard. I want you to name one person in Western society that made it to the top all by their goddamn selves. I want you to go through the history of this country, of Europe, and I want you to identify. As a matter of fact, in any culture, identify somebody who made it to the top all by themselves.
What's the point? What's the point of being there by yourself?
It's not possible.
Exactly.
It's not possible. You have to build up on somebody. You got to have some type of support. So one of the first things is for men, we have to start, in a sense, surrounding ourselves with groups of individuals, with other individuals, and form groups that are of like mind.
Mm-hmm.
We are naturally tribal. We are not naturally social beings. And many of us, we're trying to get in shape. We're trying to lose weight. We're trying to get healthy. We're trying to be happy. And we're operating as individuals when that has never brought any happiness or any security or any success to any other group, any other person in the history of the world. See, because I want, because let's even take it to some of the conquerors. How many people believe Alexander the Macedonian marched across West Asia, into Middle Asia, into Africa, into East Asia, all by his damn self? How many people believe Genghis Khan did the same thing? Oh, let's bring it up forward to some of the heroes that they screaming about now. Mark Zuckerberg. How many people believe Mark Zuckerberg did that shit all by himself? How many of y'all believe that Jeff Bezos did that shit all by himself? So what make you think that you could do the same thing? And you're putting yourself under a lot of pressure, which causes stress, which once again goes into messing with your mental health because you're trying to do something that you are not designed to do. We are designed to achieve as groups, not as individuals. We are designed to prosper as groups, not as individuals. See, Now let's use the same argument that they would use in diets. Like, for example, if I was going through the diet, I say we all supposed to be vegetarians because we don't have the claws and the teeth to eat the meat, right? Using the whole natural argument, right?
Right,
In
right.
that case, let's think about it. In that case, let's move it away from the diet. Let's move it to lifestyle. As human beings, we are the worst built being for surviving as an individual in nature. If you was to take away all this shit from human beings, you could not compete with a house rat. A house mouse will outdo you. If it get cold, the house mouse got fur. You understand? You don't. We thrived as groups. We dominate the world as groups. And all of a sudden now, when it comes to black folks getting success, I'm supposed to believe that I'm supposed to do it all by myself. Let me tell you what happens when you do it all by yourself. Matter of fact, I ain't got to tell you. Let me tell you what happens when you do it all by yourself. They Bill Cosby your ass.
Ooh.
You make it all the way to the end of life, right?
Mm.
Then they're gonna eat. I'm just saying. And we got to understand this. So we're putting ourselves under some stress that we don't need to put ourselves under when we need to start learning how to come up as groups. Like, for example, going back to that systematic process. Part of the systematic process is accepting those. It says the best life is built on the systematic use of life-giving principles. One of the life-giving principles that we have, as far as Giame, as far as the lifestyle that I'm leading, right, is Ujima, which talks about cooperative economics. Ujima, collective work and responsibility. Principles that build up on the tribal or the collective idea. Because a human being that is by himself is prey to all the other groups.
Wow.
I kind of, I hope I ain't boring nobody.
I mean,
Mike, come on, Mike Williams. Come on, Cheryl D. Somebody else, come on, Dr. Carey say, I know you got something. Somebody say something, because I'm getting lonely.
No, you're not boring. It's very good information. You're not
Yes,
boring at
I'm
all.
listening.
So, because I had a whole list of stuff that I was gonna go to, but I want to stress, family. Listen, we gotta get our minds right, and we got to build. Once we get our minds right, we got to build our teams. We got to build those tribes, right? Why? Because when I'm falling off, Dr. Jax could go on and be like, brother, I tell him, boom, 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 or I'm noticing, boom, boom, boom. Dr. Kersey could be like, brother, I tell him, boom, 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 or either one of them could need help, and they could, you know what I'm saying? We have to have that. See, because one of the worst punishments that you could give to a human being, matter of fact, I think Dr. Kersey, what is the worst thing you could do to a human being?
In what regard?
Like, for example, when they want to punish somebody, somebody says something.
Well, I'm saying to have that person be alone.
There you go. Solitary confinement. Have that person be alone. Solitary confinement. Prison inside of prison is them separating the prisoner from everybody else. When the United States government wants you to break down or they want to interrogate you, right? They're going to separate you first. Put you all by yourself. But yet, we build lives that are totally lonely and wonder why we're not happy. Regardless of how much money I'm making, regardless of how many sexual partners you may have, you still might not be happy because you built a silo of a life. You don't have a tribe. You don't have people that you can actually trust. You know what I'm saying? You haven't built a relationship with somebody where you can actually leave them with $100,000 in cash. Since money is one of the biggest things that we value, leave them with $100,000 in cash and disappear for 2 years and come back and know that your money is still there. Know that something could happen to you and you could disappear for a while and know that this individual is going to check up on your family. Many of us are living in silos, wondering why my blood pressure is high, wondering why I got diabetes. And I mean, it's a whole bunch of other stuff we could go into around a lot of that stuff, because what I started finding out when I really started looking at some of the health stuff, because I'm not the healthiest mom, in the world. But one of the things that I started noticing was this. Check this out. A lot of diseases that we have are caused by very simple things. One of them is because we're living isolated lives, we're depressed, we're sad, which opens up a gap so that other things can start happening to us. Then also, a lot of us are suffering from diseases, and I want y'all to listen to this very carefully. We're suffering from diseases of our body turning upon itself. It's called autoimmune diseases. Why would your body turn on itself? Perhaps you don't like yourself. So you're not happy, perhaps. Or you're pursuing somebody else's idea of happiness and it's not really bringing you the happiness that you want. Your whole body is turning on you. I mean, we could look at some of the basic diseases out there. And a lot of y'all out there, when you find out what you're suffering from, I challenge you, right? Ask the question, is it an autoimmune disease? Because you might be surprised what some of the autoimmune diseases that are attacking us are. And a lot of that could be solved by us simply having some healthy relationships in our lives.
So first, then, Brother Hatem, it is definitely that we need to, I guess maybe to summarize, first, it is definitely that we need to address the mental, the emotional, the psychological. And then it's also then to establish and maintain relationships.
Right. Now, hold on. Now, let me say this. Say that again. Okay. You said establish and maintain relationships. Remember, in Giame, in our self-mastery system, that is the definition for spirituality. Y'all. Say it again. Establish and maintain relationships.
Relationships, yes.
See, people get all deep with the whole spiritual piece when spirituality is about maintaining relationships. When you're spiritual, you think about it. Spirituality is about maintaining a relationship with God, is it not?
It is.
Now, what about the people around you? You can tell how spiritual somebody is by the relationships that are around them. How can somebody give you advice who is isolated from the rest of the world?
Oh my goodness.
How can you advise me when you have not been through the shit that I'm going through? That's like going to a doctor, right? I mean, to a self-proclaimed doctor. I have never done any treatment on anybody, but I have studied all this shit, and I'm ready to give you surgery. I'm ready to give you life advice. I'm ready to help you heal some of your mental wounds. I'm ready to help you heal your sicknesses. What? You got any experience? No. Spirituality is about establishing and maintaining relationships, ultimately. And you can tell somebody's spirituality by the relationships of the people around them. If you go into somebody and they're supposed to be super spiritual, but they always by themselves. Come on, man. Come on. Miss me.
So I was gonna ask, I'm gonna jump in here real quick and ask, because Hatem, you are on point. Like you are always, Brother Hatem, you are always.
No, I'm not. I be falling off all the damn time. I'm just.
And whenever I catch you, I try to get
that's
you
together.
That's
what tribe do, right?
You get me
doing
together.
Exactly what you're doing right now too. Look, when you good, you good. But when you fucking up, I'm gonna pull you to the side. And I'm gonna motherfucker. What is going on? Listen, I'm surrounded by brothers like this. I have certain situations that will happen to me that I have friends that are so good that I won't even tell them about the situations that happen to me because they will take it more personal than I will. are you blessed with that type of relationship? And the same thing goes for some of the other some of my friends. It's like, boom, there is certain shit that we don't discuss because we gotta go handle this shit right now. We about to go handle this shit right now. And they don't always have to be on no physical shit, but it's like, yo, no, you can't do that, bro. And this can't happen to you. And we got to have those type of people in our lives. That makes us healthy. That keeps us together. Because they love you so much, they recognize your value, and they want you to recognize your value. And until you realize how valuable you really are, right? Until you realize it, you cause everybody else around you to suffer. When you're suffering mentally, your group around you is suffering mentally. When you are receiving lack, your group around you is receiving that same lack. We feed off each other. We develop it's a concept in the mind of principles called reciprocity, right? That also fits into Ujamaa. Ujamaa is connected, or Ujamaa cooperative economics is connected to reciprocity, right? At least in our system, now, because I can't speak for everybody. But reciprocity is about what comes around goes around, right? So if I'm surrounding myself with a healthy circle, right? We got energy, we got healthy energy flowing between us. We got healthy deeds flowing between us. So when I do something, because now this is how you measure your circle. If you are in a circle where you are constantly just giving out, and you don't receive, that's not your group. You need groups where reciprocity is happening. That's what a relationship is about. A relationship is where parties are pouring into each other, and it causes a healthy cycle to flow. I give, they receive. They give, I receive. You understand? And it don't always have to happen in that order, but you know that it's going on. Right? And as the circle start expanding, y'all start seeing the blessings start flowing. As Black folks, we kind of broke that down within our community, and we have a unhealthy reciprocity relationship with white capitalism. I hate using those terms supremacy, but what else?
I wanted to jump in real quick, Brother Hatem, and ask anyone that is here on the Zoom call, excuse me, anyone here that's on the Zoom call that has a question of Brother Hatem based on what he shared so far. I know that one question I have is like, what steps, like, I have a brother, right? I'm just using say, if I have a brother and I want to make him aware of how important his health is and to start with his mental health, are there any steps that, like, how can I start off that conversation maybe? How can I introduce him to, or is it me as a woman that can do that? Would it have to be someone else? But before you answer that, we have someone that's just joining us, and I'm wondering if it is, let's see, Pixel 2.
You know it.
Who is this?
This is Brother Brown.
Uncle Carl is on the call.
Yeah, I thought I'd stop by, see what was going on over here.
What's up, Unc? How you doing?
I'm all right. How y'all?
I am so
blessed now.
Yes, we are very, very blessed. So
I thought wait, hold on. I thought you was an Apple man. I'm so glad to see that you have come over to the Android side of the game. I don't know what to say.
Man, I've been had this Android phone for the last 7 years, man.
I thought you had an iPhone, but that's cool. I understand.
Yeah, that's been gone. They kind of tricked me into this Android, and I didn't want it, but it is what it is. It's a business issue, man. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, everyone, this is Uncle Carl. I have adopted him as my Uncle Carl, but this is actually Brother Hatem's Uncle Carl. I'm a stealer, right? I steal people's family members, so sorry. He's been mine now forever.
That's all right. But you don't have to steal nothing. It's freely give, freely receive.
Thank you. So Uncle Carl, Brother Hatem has been sharing with us. He's introducing to us the concept of men's health. And then the very first thing is that a man needs to know that he is worthy, that he is all good, that he is enough. All right. And then we just kind of went on from there. Brother Hatem, you want to share with and catch Uncle Carl up to speed
before we do that, we have people out here. If you have a question or comment as well, you can type it in or you can join the call. Because we got people out here watching us on the live stream.
Right.
And let me say this, Doc, you already know that a lot of it's like a freestyle rap. It comes out and I can't never really quite repeat it, but I did start with men have to realize they are enough. Learning how to define themselves, learning how to deal with their mental health before they can start dealing with anything else in their lives. Because you could do all of the other practices, but if your mind is messed up, your life is still going to follow suit because you're not going to be able to see. You know what I'm saying? I mean, one of the things that there was an experiment, and it wasn't a large experiment, but this would be interesting. I heard this on the show, and I'm gonna have to find it, and I'm gonna have to post it up. But there was an experiment with rabbits where they wanted to show that diet and high cholesterol was connected. So they had determined what food would give rabbits high cholesterol and make the rabbits unhealthy. I want y'all to check this out. So they had all these rabbits caged in 2 rows of cages. You had a high row that was hard to reach to get the rabbits their food, and you had another row where you could actually reach and put the food into with the rabbits. So the scientists made sure that everything was straight. They made sure that they gave these rabbits this diet because we want to prove that diet and bad cholesterol were connected, or you know what I'm saying, boom, 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 whatever they was trying to prove. Well, anyway, they did the experiment and they did the numbers, and they started looking at it and they started noticing that the rabbits at the top all had high cholesterol, but all the rabbits on the second row didn't have the problem. They was eating the same food, but they didn't have the high cholesterol. And they said, well, wait a minute, hold on. This is strange. We got a whole top row up here that's getting the same food as the whole bottom row. What is the difference? So they had to go through, all right, so they go back and they check in to see, well, is there something different in the food? No, there's nothing different in the food. All the food is the same. You know what I'm saying? What's going on? So then they said, all right, cool. They start identifying what was different. So they looked at the experiment as it was going on, and they started noticing that the assistant that was feeding the rabbits, because he couldn't reach the top row, was hard to reach the top row, he would just put the food in. But because on the bottom row he was able to reach the rabbits, he would not only feed them the food, but he would go and he would cuddle the rabbits and he would hug and he would love on the rabbits. So the rabbits who were at the top, that was just receiving an unhealthy diet. Now, this goes back to the whole piece I was talking with y'all about relationships. They was receiving an unhealthy diet with no relationship. The ones that was on the bottom row was receiving an unhealthy diet, but they were receiving love. They did not get sick. Now, also, this also could count if we look back at our history. Many of us, until these recent days, knew absolutely nothing about healthy eating. But many of our foreparents lived a very long life, eating some of the worst, excuse my language, my uncle, he don't cuss, but eating some of the worst shit on the planet. They lived a long, long life. But their food was prepared with love. Prepared as, because a lot of us, unfortunately, we got away from this, but a lot of us come from dinner tables. In our older gen, like for those of us that are over 40, many of us was blessed by grandparents who still had the authority to call the whole family together to eat. Matter of fact, I could remember coming up and I wasn't even allowed to go into the refrigerator after dinner. The meal was there and we ate together, whether it was quiet or whatever, we all ate together. You know what I'm saying? We ate so much rice at my grandmother's house, I thought I was Chinese. But we ate together. We ate together, and it was healthy. And you know, but I was young. I don't know. But anyway, any questions or comments? I'm sorry I couldn't review. I don't remember a lot of that.
Well, that's all right. That's all right. I just have a comment. Our ancestors, I believe in biblical health principles. And I stand firm on them because of the experience that I have and the testimony and, the evidence of the validity of God's word doing and accomplishing what he said they would do. But our ancestors, grandparents, great-grandparents, they a lot of them did the best that they knew how to do. And in a time of ignorance, because there are some foods that God forbids us to consume because of their detrimental effect on the human anatomy. And God, we have to look at the fact that God wants us healthy. The Bible says above all things in John 3, he says verse 2, he says, above all things I would that thou would prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospers. So he desires for us to have health and prosperity, as we look at, some of the things that we were raised on. As a matter of fact, I had rice today, huh, Tim? You know what I mean? I had rice today. Hey, and got some out here and we'll cook it, And for those that don't know, I drive for a living. I'm in a truck, I'm over the road and stuff. But anyway, God winks at our ignorance. In other words, he overlooks our ignorance, and they were blessed as a result of them doing the best that they could do. And we really have to understand that, there are certain principles that God has given to us that violate nature's laws. In other words, there are certain things that, we are not, we shouldn't be even thinking about putting anything injurious into our system, and why? Because, our bodies are the temple of God. That's what we're told, and I'm gonna just say this and I ain't gonna go on, but disease is not an enemy for the most part, to us, because we're told that disease is an effort of nature to free the system from conditions that result from a violation of the laws of health. In case of sickness, the cause should be ascertained. Unhealthful conditions should be changed, unhealthful conditions should be ascertained. Unhealthful conditions should be changed, wrong habits corrected. Then the nature is assisted in her effort is to expel impurities and to reestablish a right condition in the system. So, when we, that's just like when we get fevers and when we get a cold or the flu or something, that's nothing more than the body trying to expel impurities out of our system. The elimination process is a very, very important process. As a matter of fact, our skin is the most, we have more pores in our skin than anything else. We don't understand how our stomach needs at least 5 hours to rest or 4 hours to rest, to digest, not 4 hours to rest, to digest the food that we ate. And a lot of us eat between meals and don't allow our stomach to ever have a rest. You know what I'm saying? 4 hours to digest most foods and an hour of rest, 5 hours between meals. Those are principles that I have been living by for the last 25, 30 years, and I don't eat anything that has a mother or a face. But the thing is that, we can understand that, if we are willing to allow the Lord to guide and direct us, because on the point of appetite, all of us are in trouble. You know what I mean? That's why that's one of the most money making you talk about capitalism. One of the most money-making things is diet, selling people diets and stuff in society. So and there's a whole lot to go into this because we have to buy vitamins now because they done stripped all of the vegetation, the vitamins out of vegetation for the most part and bottled it. So we can buy fruits and vegetables that are depleted from the natural medicinal properties that God put in them, and they done they're capitalizing on them. We have to go to the store and buy vitamin B12 and magnesium and zinc and these other things. So there's a lot going into to health reform, but I'm glad that y'all having these discussions. Men, especially black men, we are very, very stubborn in regard to, because I talk to people, man, I don't care what they say, man, I gotta die or something. People say that until they find themselves in a bad spot and on dialysis or something, and then they don't want to die of that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But when we get to the point where we looking at how, we can do all things through Christ. If we ask God in prayer, to enable us to overcome in the little small points, then we can have victory over the other things that God is trying to give us victory over. And it's a battle in the march all the time. None of us have attained, to the perfection that God would have us to have, but we can have confidence that He who has begun a good work in us will perform it until the day of Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, going back a little bit to what, because he said the diet industry. Thanks, Uncle. Mm-hmm. The diet industry is worth 192 billion globally, as at least up until September 2021. 192 billion dollars. Then when we look at the whole health industry, if we talk about pharmaceuticals, we're talking about 1.3 trillion dollars per year. The medical device industry, 447 billion. I mean, it's like, being sick, you know what I'm saying? We have made incentives. Capitalism gives incentives to people being unhealthy. First off, if we don't think that we are enough, right, we always are going to try to supplement who we are. Matter of fact, I will going back to the diet piece, I will eat food that is unhealthy to show you that I am better. Because it's supposedly better and is processed and is, it's more beneficial for me, supposedly. I had other people touch it. It's, you know what I'm saying? We do all this stuff to impress others. We do a lot of this stuff to impress others, and it ends up destroying us. Why? Because we haven't accepted who we are. We're not happy with us. We're not happy with the relationships we have. And then you get on this social media, it's constantly filling you with ideas that there's somebody out there doing better than you.
I am interested in asking Dr. Karasay. Dr. Karasay is a world-renowned medical doctor. She's a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
She is all things health and wellness. I wanted to ask her to just chime in real quick, especially on the phrase that men should absorb that they are enough. What do you say in the time that we have remaining here?
Certainly piggybacking off what our brother Hatim said, what happens internally, because what happens internally is so detrimental because, out of a preponderance of the heart, the mouth speaks. You have to believe it first. And when we talk about health, just across the spectrum, the mental or the physical, and the symptoms that come with all of it. It starts with you. It starts with your mindset from the gate. And even in one word that you will just never ever hear me use is the word sick. So that's one thing. And I don't even let my children use that word. And it goes back to even breaking down, and I thought that that is where you were going with it a little bit ago. The word disease is actually dis-ease. It means that your body is unregulated. So by the time that you have a cold or your allergies, it's not you being that SICK word, it is your body rebuking everything that is wrong with you. Your body is healing itself. And so that's why my babies will tell you, I'm healing. They'll come to me with something is going on with them, and they'll say, Mommy, I'm healing. And, and I have to go, you're healing from what? And they'll say, from the icky stuff outside or whatever the case may be, because our bodies are just magnificent specimens. And we already have within us what it takes and to make ourselves whole. And when we were placed here, this world was given to us for that, the environment. So, and that would be our food. And we pick our food from the outside to replenish ourselves. And we actually talked about that and how that works. But we have to make the choice. We have to make the choice about what we consume and how we consume. And then going back to being healthy in the mind and being worthy and believing that we have to believe that we are worthy of being healthy, and then also combat that fear of whatever it is that keeps you from being healthy. And that's a layered conversation in and of itself, because you start to deal with or start having those conversations about white supremacy and the disparities within the healthcare system, and then why particular races, and especially, or since we're talking about Black men, let's just stay there. Don't go to the doctor. I've shared with you before how my men in my family were in the military, were part of the syphilis study or the Tuskegee study, and so there are issues with that. So, and there are just so many other issues where Black men just do not trust the healthcare profession. So we have to get over that as well. But also with that, what has to be taught first, which is what Brother Hatim kind of touched on before, is that the healthcare profession, it's about how you see it. Medicine is what it is, okay? And I want people to understand that medicine is not there. It is not a cure-all, okay? And every medicine comes with a side effect. Okay, you have all of these studies and all these things about it being poison and all of these things that bad for your body. Well, drugs are drugs, okay, and they are tested, they are vetted, and it's a balance of harms. Okay, it's about, is it going to make you feel better versus making you feel worse? And I'm sorry, but that's just what medication is. But going back to my point, when you start talking about, are you well on the inside and in your mind, then you are going to make choices from the gate that address issues, or to even live a lifestyle that keep you from needing those things in the first place. So you want to actively live a life of prevention. Always be in the mode of, I never want to have cancer. So as a result, I won't eat these things. I never want to have diabetes. So I won't eat these things. Yes, I like sugar, but I will have my dessert that is made with pure cane sugar, rather than going to have this ding dong, those are called, that are made in the stores and have the high fructose syrup and all of those things in it. So it's about the choices that we make. But you have to educate yourself about those things and know what is good and what's not so good for you. And then you have to make the choice to do that. Now, I understand a lot of those things are systemic. because there are people, we talked about this too, we talk about so much here, it's an awesome group. We talked about how there are food deserts and some things our people just don't have a choice but to eat those things. However, Brother Hatim, you have these great groups and great resources, and you're very good at teaching people how to build community. And the other couple that's on here, and then that is where you all step in, especially as men working in the community to galvanize other Black men to again, galvanize the community to change what comes into the community, thus changing what is sold to the people in the community. So there are just so many things that that can be pulled and gleaned from all of that. But you gave a lot of great information, Brother Hakim. My only thing, I really do want you to put your information out. I put in the chat for Facebook the book that you held up. But if you could put like how, because with the information and the suggestions that you gave, I think it would work better if you could piecemeal it and then show brothers how to do that. I mean, it sounds great, but it's that first step. It is knowing how to do it first, and then the implementation is its own beat.
Right.
But there's just a lot of the brothers who just don't know how. They want to, they have the heart to do it, they have the love for themselves and their community to do it. They just have no idea. And then they just also do not know that there are other brothers out there just like them, like-minded brothers, and they don't know how to bond with them and rally them in. So I think if you could touch on that, or even just put your information out there so they can contact you at a later time.
I just put up, because I got a free e-course, but that e-course allows people to get on the email list. And on the emails, says free GNJ, free GNJecourse.com. That's free GNJecourse.com. You know what I'm saying? And it walks you through that the whole cultural piece, the talking about the libations, talking about the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, talking about how to utilize that in life. But then also it presents opportunities to have conversations and find out some of the stuff that we're doing behind the scenes and help you do what we call tribe building. Because all of us, because like the internet is cool, but sometimes we need to see people in person. You know what I'm saying? So that we could surround ourselves with like-minded people. That is a very powerful thing. Because nowadays they tell us you shouldn't do that because you got echo. You're in an echo chamber. Sometimes we need to be in an echo chamber. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we need to be in an echo chamber. Sometimes I need to be. This is why we have churches. This is why we have fraternities and sororities. We bring groups of people together. We've been doing this since the beginning of time, right? So now we need to really start utilizing this. And some of us, we are involved in what I call it a tribe, but some of us are involved in it and we're not even plugging into the power that's there, right? So boom, how do we do that? We can start having conversations about that. I can help people figure out how to do that. You understand? Because that's one of the things that I have been doing my whole life. How do I take what I have and generate something that I need and something that can help other people? Basically building tribe. That's what I do. And I can help you do the same and improve your life in the process. I ain't guaranteeing to make you rich, because some people out there, we're not on that get rich quick shit. We on how can I build community that can help others. And because really one of the things that's crazy is because at the beginning I said some of us need to learn how to be selfish. Learn how to work on us. But the reason I say that is because ultimately, once I'm able to really start feeding me and really start taking care of me, it makes it even more possible for me to really start helping other people. Right? Many of us are drowning and we're trying to pull people up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm drowning, I'm up in the water, I'm trying to pull you up.
Mm-hmm.
Come on now. I'm out of oxygen. I'm trying to put your mask on. No. Let's work on us, right? Let's do that personal inventory so that I know where I'm at. So that once I'm able to help me, I'm able to recognize some of the stuff that other people are struggling with. Because I got so many struggles that I could, You know what I'm saying? I can recognize when somebody might need something because they might be struggling like I struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
I'm glad you brought that up because it is, and that's why language matters because it's not, let's say, how did you put it? It's not selfish. Self-care is not selfish. And so that is what leads to the anxiety that Black men face, and that is what is the impetus of that whole strong Black woman thing. It's nonsense. And so when you take care of yourself, what other people get is the overflow. People are not supposed to get a part of you, be it in relationship, be it in parenthood, or anything like that. You walk into whatever situation that you are in as a whole, entire, complete person, entity, being, spirit, whatever you choose to call yourself. And if you could just think of it as just a cup, and you are every day, you have to feed yourself with whatever it is that makes you whole, whatever your spirituality is, your emotional health, your spiritual health, your physical health, those three important pillars, and you fill that up so that when you do encounter everything else, what people are getting is that overflow. So then in that way, you are actually capable of helping people. And then understand that if your cup isn't full, and even when you are encountering people who are in essence trying to help you, and then you notice that their cup isn't full per se, then you need to back away from that, because understand that something may be going on with that person, because what they're doing is that they are using you as a distraction to not deal with their own stuff.
Oh,
Because
me.
if they're not together, then they don't need to be in your business.
Mm.
You know, that's not a read. I seriously mean that in the most loving kind of way, because you can end up doing more damage to a person than you will helping them. And
Mm.
honestly, and I do believe the best in people. And I know that, because to be honest, for me, I stepped away from practicing for about a year and a half, and I taught. And for a year and a half, I stepped away from my practice and I taught for a year and a half because it was my son being born premature, my mother passing away, and my divorce I filed in 1 year.
Oh,
And I just wasn't ready.
oh my.
And so I knew that for me, I needed that. I,
Mm-hmm.
I needed that. And so, yeah, my education is still there, but I just knew that emotionally
Right.
needed to be fed and I needed to be taken care of. And I'm real with myself about that. And other people need to do that as well. And so we often mask a lot of things, and then we get busy. We get busy doing a lot of stuff because that makes us feel like we're doing something, like you said. But really, in essence, we're not doing the important things. We're not doing the important things that matter for us, and that's why people still walk around so damaged, because you
Mm.
see them out in the world and they have all of these wonderful and impactful things going on. And then you see on the news next week that they have jumped off the building.
Mm.
And
Mm.
you wondering, how did all of this happen? Well,
Mm.
there you go. So again, it's the overflow. It's the overflow. And then one other thing that I wanted to put out, also when people walk into all of this wonderful, energy and things that you're putting out, the thing with procrastination.
Mm.
Procrastination, the root of it is, first understand that procrastination is not lazy. And a lot of that is put onto people, and some people, the majority of people don't understand that when we procrastinate, it's not about our lack of will to do something, or just being lazy. I hate that word. That's what people hear or say all the time about it. Procrastination is about fear, okay? Well, when you procrastinate because you are not settled in your mind about what's going on with you at that particular moment. When you procrastinate, it's because your mind has taken off and you are way in the future thinking about what could possibly happen with the decision I make right now. If I have been in this position before, because I failed in it last week, and I don't want to go there anymore, so I'm not going to walk this path. Or think about maybe you dating, something like that. Well, I'm not gonna, or maybe it's a project at work or some task that you have to do, and you just sit around and get busy doing all kinds of other things, not actually sitting down doing the task at hand because you're in your mind go, I already know how this is gonna end up, so you just start getting busy doing other stuff. But in your mind, going, yes, I need to go over here and paint this porch because I was supposed to have painted this porch last week, and I am doing the Lord's work. And yes, I'm supposed to be doing this. No, you're not. No, you're not. Yes, that porch needed to be painted, but Jesus is going to be all right.
Right.
It's not going anywhere, but you need to be doing this, and it's just because you're scared, because you're into next week. Your mind is already into next week, and we're off into the anxiety. We don't know how to practice mindfulness. We don't know how to break things down into chunks to where we can just bite it off into small pieces, reward ourselves for the little things that we did, and do that high five thing. Good job, girl. And let that be, and then pick it up again until you can get to that point where it's done. And then when it's done, imagine how great you feel. That's when you get to your superwoman stance or your superman stance. But we never practice that. We don't ever practice that. I mean, can you imagine the kind of super beings that we would be if we offered ourselves enough grace to actually follow through with the process, allowing ourselves to grow,
embracing that process?
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying embracing that process, and because when we because we do a show, well, I do a show called The Daily Toast, and in the toast, I toast the past, I toast the present, and I toast the future. And one of the reasons I broke it down like that was so that we could have that conversation, because a lot of people are either dealing with stuff from the past or fearful of the future. Very few of us are able to apply and get busy in the now. And those people that are able to get into the now, whether we're talking about sports or whether we're talking about academic work or we're talking about business, the people that are most successful are those people that are able to do what you talk about, embracing that moment and giving the all in the now. I'm not concerned. I'm not that. I'm in the process. I let things fall in place. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do now. I'm following a systematic process right now. And I know because this system has worked for other people before me that if I apply myself to the system, success is damn near guaranteed. If not all the way guaranteed. There's always something that go wrong. But hey, you don't need to worry about that. Focus in the moment. Focus in the moment. Do the right thing in the moment.
I wanted to add, thank you all so much for I want to start by saying thank you, Brother Hatim, for leading our discussion. Thank you, Uncle Carl, for coming through, dropping your wisdom. Thank you, Sister Cheryl, for being here. And I know that you always walk away with great things. And I hope that, again, this conversation is something that you could take and share with the people you love. Thank you, Brother Mike Williams. You are at work, but you are here. And we are so glad that you are. And then last but not least, I want to say thank you to my Sarah, my new best friend way in Kansas City, Missouri. I just owned you as my new best friend. So tell your real best friend to just move over.
Hey, Stephanie, can I add something?
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to drop this right fast. You know, we have to keep in mind that the appetite should ever be in subjection to the moral and intellectual power. The body should be servant to the mind and not the mind to the body.
Ashe.
Thank you. Listen, you guys, it is already like 8:30, and I feel like the conversation is actually just really getting started. My light is not working. I feel like the conversation is just not really getting started, but I wanted to see if we could continue this conversation. I know next Sunday is Father's Day, so we want to honor our
Is it?
fathers. Yes, next Sunday is Father's Day. We want to honor our fathers, but if we could continue this conversation on the next Sunday. So that will be June the 25th. I think. Yeah, I think it's the 25th. If we could continue this conversation then, and
It might be kind of hard because you know that's Tylese's birthday, and you know.
Oh goodness. And
Yeah.
I know the summertime is a lot
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah, the foolishness is gonna be unleashed. My sister gonna be kicking on for her birthday.
Don't do my friend like that. Don't do my good sis like that. But we're gonna be here, God willing. And hey, bring Tylese. Tell her to come bring the foolishness.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But
good luck on that one.
Yeah, we'll see how that works. But I want to thank you all so much for joining. And thank you, those people that are out there in the social media world. Thank you so much for joining us. And please continue to stay tuned because we have wonderful things going on. With that, I would like for Uncle Carl, if you would, normally what we do at the end of our group sessions, we ask someone to just lead us with a word of inspiration, a word of prayer, if you don't mind, Uncle Carl, and then we will be dismissed.
Okay. Yeah, I don't mind. Father in heaven, we thank you so much for your grace. We ask, Lord, that you would continue to help us to see the light in regard to health reform. Lord, we are in trouble down here. A lot of people are in a disease condition, spiritually, mentally, physically. And we pray that you would help us all to recognize whatever condition we're in and depend upon you to accomplish a healing in each one of us. We thank you so much for unity and family. We pray that you would help us, Lord, to be at one with you and one with one another. Forgive us for our sins, cleanse us from all unrighteousness. And we thank you for this platform that we are able to discuss these things, Lord, because it is very important for us to be enlightened. So we thank you for your grace, your mercy, and your love. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right. With that, without
Peace, family. Yo, thank you for joining us. Right? And I'm thrilled to announce the fact that we are now releasing our first free e-course. Come and learn about Gianni's journey, see some of the stuff we do. Come and join the tribe. Tribe up with us and check out the free e-course. We'll make sure that the URL pop up right about here. And it'll probably be somewhere in here. Check us out, family, because we are building. Come and learn about Gianni's journey, and let's build together.